All right, we're gonna get started in just a minute. Make sure I get it here. Again, this is just a call to call for awareness, a specific topic. Make sure I get the so I have to say. People need from the information and stuff that I'm about to give you, uh, that we'll take this and share it to others because this is very important, super important. So I'm gonna let some people come in, get in here, and when I see some people in here, and then I'm going to, then I'll start talking about what's going on. By the way, thank you everyone for taking your time out to listen to this because it's very important. Again, I was saying it's very important. So it's 7:03 now. In about a minute or so, wait for a minute, and then after that, I'm just give you all the information, and then from there, again, I'm going to behoove people to share this, bring awareness to this situation because it is super important to the communities. And I'm sure if it's happening here, it's probably not just happening here. Okay, so. Let me share my screen with you guys. So I share my screen. All right. So, good evening. I want to talk about a specific topic, and it's a call for awareness as far as young minors in having the access to weapons. First and foremost, a lot of people are going to be like, well, what are you talking about? Work vibes for me. Let me share my screen. Yeah. So a lot of people are going to ask me, what am I talking about? So in specifics, I'm going to let you know a certain situation happened where three minors came into a place that I investigate as far as for a living. I investigated at Cabela's at the time, investigated at Cabela's Bass Pro, in which these three said individuals came to the store and stole multiple weapons that look like actual firearms. And then with those said firearms on Saturday, because this is when it started, but it wasn't noticed until Sunday because communication somehow was not in a lot of people's strong suit when this situation took place. So on Sunday, these said individuals came in and they stole multiple Beretta aerosol guns that look like actual guns. Went to a business, Jarrett's, that's right down the way from where Cabela's is, and was shooting up the back area and windows of Jarrett's. Now, the manager had came in on Monday, had talked to a manager. That Sunday evening, the manager deterred what is called a MPX. It looks like an AR-15 aerosol gun, in which she didn't know at the time that these kids had already stolen multiple guns in their book bags, put multiple Berettas in their book bags. So the manager from Jarrett's comes in and lets them know that, hey, listen, I saw these individuals back. There's a whole bunch of evidence in our back area. So on Monday, on my shift, on my duty, I go and, the investigator in me goes, looks at the footage, does what I need to do. I go over to Jarrett's and I find all the evidence. I mean, there's tons of like BBs everywhere, CO2 cartridges and packages in their dumpster. So I'm gonna share my screen, and these were some of the packages that was in the dumpster that I had found. And if you look at them, you can see that the packages say Berettas, yada, 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 right? So as I'm doing my investigation, as I'm looking into this situation, the kids come back again. And this is around like 7 o'clock on Monday. They come back again. So in any normal situation, when we make a recovery, we call it recoveries here. When we make a merchandise recovery, we pretty much get the merchandise back from the person who, has stolen the merchandise. So I see these kids and I walk up to them and I know they got the merchandise and I know that they stole before. So in most cases, in majority of the cases, you trespass those said individuals. A manager would trespass those individuals. So I walk up to the individuals and I'm like, okay, let's get management so they can be trespassed. Because again, this is, to me, an extreme case for safety when it pertains to our minors being 10, 11, and 12 years old, stealing weapons as such. Manager comes down, manager talks to them, I'm talking to them, and I say, hey, I think this is one of those situations where we need to call CPD, which is law enforcement here, so that their parents can be contacted, so that the parents would know about what's going on in this situation. But because I'm a stickler when it comes to communication, I'm like, let's call the store manager, see what he wants to do. Well, said store manager, his name is Tom Shaharsky, by the way, got an entire attitude with me about the situation and said, why would we call CPD for this situation when policy, okay? Policy being to call the MAPM, in which my MAPM just quit recently. So to call the regional MAPM. But here's the caveat to that. The caveat is that in extreme cases of safety, we don't need to call the MAPM. So I was like, Okay, I think that this is an extreme case. They've stolen multiple days, weapons that look like this. For those that's on the other live, I will show you this information later. But for those that's on the Facebook Live and on YouTube, you can see this for yourself because I have everything in front of me. So I think it's an extreme case of safety because one, these kids could go out and do something that's going to ruin their future by using these weapons that look like actual firearms. They hold the weight of a firearm. They look like a firearm. If you was to point this at somebody, somebody would think this is a real firearm. So that's number one. Number two, more importantly, they can get hurt or hurt themselves with said weapon here, or ultimately somebody's going to retaliate, and then they probably could get killed. And if you know the 716 community, we have had multiple upon multiple instances with adolescents and these weapons as it pertains to access to these weapons and people being charged for it, people being hurt, people getting killed. We've had that. We've had that here in the 716 community. So me as an investigator for this company, I'm like, I think that it would be smart for us to do that. Well, again, like I said, the manager caught an attitude about it and pretty much was like, why would you such and such and such? And didn't want to do that, didn't want to call law enforcement. So I'm like, okay. So we called the district guy, Marshall, what's his name? I called Marshall, and Marshall pretty much was like, just make note of it, put it in the system, get the footage. Well, that really does nothing with the situation at hand. These kids now have multiple weapons. They've been here multiple days to access these weapons, and it was quite easy for them to get them. So let's rewind a little bit. So while doing my investigation, I also found out that they also they also had stolen these weapons on Saturday. I started my shift at 5:30. This situation happened at 4:58, and they left the store at 5:10. No communication was given to me that these individuals was in the store on Saturday. Just so happened my intuition kicked in and I decided to go look and found that they had stolen 6 of these weapons that you see up here that's on this desk, 6 of them. Those look like real handguns. Would anybody agree or disagree to that? Those look like real handguns. So regardless, so now it's 3 days that they've done this. So long story short, I come in the next day on Tuesday and I'm told to write a statement. So I write the statement, and I actually have the statement. I might even post my statement just because I have it, but I want to go through some of this stuff too. And I'll read my statement if I have to. If need be, I'll read it, the statement that I wrote. But this is, by the way, once again, this is all information that I have about said incident. Okay, so these are the young adolescents, by the way, entering into Mullis, so you know that they were there. Okay. By the way, if anybody can identify these said young individuals, I know that pictures aren't the greatest. I will be forever grateful if you could, because once again, like, their parents need to know what's going on. Now, this is the case where they took said handguns. Now, if you notice, you will see that there's no spider wrap, no locks really to these weapons. A couple months ago, I had brung it in a meeting that they have. They have manager meetings where they have lead and manager meetings. And I specifically told the manager that certain knives, weapons, and things need to be locked up, regardless if they're in a price point, because of said situation that could take place as far as somebody being able to access these easily. I was told, and I quote from Tom, the said manager, that are they in the price point? No, then we're not doing it. Okay. Ultimately, reverting back to Tuesday, I had to write a statement, and on yesterday, I was terminated from my position at Cabela's as the investigation manager yesterday. They claimed that I detained these kids, which, again, if you know the definition of detainment, that's not what happened. And in fact, by the way, some of these things you're going to see here, you're going to see cases where, once again, as I have stated, teens with guns, gun possession, yada yada. These are some of a few cases that we've dealt with in the last 3 months. So here's a video, by the way, of the said situation. You see me right there. There's the management. Now, to you, does that look like they're being detained? Or is that getting information? By the way, they also tried to use the excuse that because the kid, by the way, these kids also, when I got to them, also admitted that they had taken merchandise currently the day that I approached them and the day prior to. And then the other kid tells me he has a gun in his bag. As you can see here, he literally gave me permission. Look in the bag. You see what I do? Take it out. Very discreetly, I take the weapon out of his bag because he asked me to, and I had permission to do so. I take it in the office, sits in my office. Once again, as I stated, no detainment. These kids were not, I never got names from them, anything. And I was terminated from my position because I care about these kids' safety at the end of the day. There's too many instances now that we've had in this community. And if it's happening in this community, it's happening in other communities as well. If it's going on at this Cabela's, then it's probably happening in other Cabela's as well. Again, too easy for these kids, 10, 11, and 12. I want you to think about that. 10, 11, and 12, maybe even 13-year-old kids accessing these weapons. So what I haven't showed you yet is I haven't showed you this. I think it's here. Yep. So if you pay attention to the screen, you will see firsthand. Let me stop it here. So those are the 3 individuals with the bags. You see this, right? I'm about to actually, hold on. Let me put it up here. And you might have to so this is right here. You see this whole side of the store. This is one side of the store. Do you notice one individual over here? There is nobody over here. And this is 5 o'clock on a Saturday, by the way. Not one person working. But I'm gonna continue and I'm gonna let you see the video of what happens. My problem is point blank the fact that when does safety take precedence? I could have swore that safety is supposed to be like every business's first priority. And again, like I said, these kids can get themselves hurt, killed, or do something that messes up their future. And right now, currently, as it stands, these kids' parents have no idea what they're doing, I'm sure. Because I'm sure no real parent would be okay with this whatsoever. And by the way, you can share this if you want. I'm doing this to raise awareness, as I stated, and that's that. I also will be, now that I'm not employed with them, I will be sharing this with CPD, with Cheektowaga Police. I wanted to make sure I gave it a day so it doesn't look like retaliation, because you know how people think nowadays. To be honest, I also called all of the news sources to get ahead of this situation, because once again, it needs to be known. These kids need to be identified. Their parents need to be identified. And most importantly, awareness needs to be made of this situation. On multiple days, as I stated, these kids, 10, 11, at most 13. None of these kids are high schoolers. Were able to access these weapons. And then when they were deterred, when stealing said weapons, this company did not care about these kids' safety. They cared about their image more than they cared about these kids' safety. And because I cared about their safety, I was wrongfully terminated. So I definitely will be, again, working to find out who these kids are even more. Oh yeah, here's the phone call I got, by the way, from Wednesday. Through their bank. You said what? External theft policy and Workday, and then you detained the youth, and then you dug through their bank. They weren't detained. That's the end of what we're going to talk about here. Okay, hold on, time out. They weren't terminated. They weren't detained though. Okay. Okay. I'll be making sure the news get a hold of this because that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know why y'all would want to play with me in this manner. Those kids were not detained. I didn't get any information from them. We got permission from them to get the merchandise out of the bag. Just we're not gonna go into this. I already know what's going on, Marshall. You don't have there's no real explanation for it. There's no real explanation for it, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to make this a news matter and a litigation matter. That's what I'm about to do. As a media news source, that's what's about to happen. So I'll exit the building and all that. I mean, that was kind of a waste of my time being on the call if you was just gonna do that. Okay, so just gonna do that. Okay, so just gonna do that. Okay, so just gonna do that. Documented everything. I have more documents in my bag actually. So when you heard me say about the meeting that I was in, they did everything. So can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure y'all can hear me again. Okay, so pretty much in a nutshell, when I said that they wasted my time, there was a meeting amongst a bunch of investigators, and during said meeting, they decided to go over a whole bunch of different things as far as like trespass, detainment, and just different scenarios. The MAPM who called me, and by the way, when I say MAPM, I'm talking about the Market Asset Protection Management from a different area called me and told me that what we had been taught at the time may not line up with what they're trying to do now. So I feel like this whole meeting was to try to cover their behind. But I kept all of the documents and dates so that if they ever tried to say that, you know, this was already in their policy, yada, 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 that they wouldn't be able to use that excuse because it wasn't. So I decided to keep all that. And again, I have all the pictures, documentation, yada, yada, yada. But most importantly, again, I want to bring awareness to this situation as far as minors and accessing these weapons. My comments to everyone who is watching, please be mindful of what your kids are out here doing. It is very important. I know that it can be hard sometimes. I don't know everybody's situation, family situation. Don't know what some people may be dealing with in life. But I think that it is very important that we, as parents, as adults, as people who are supposed to be mentoring these kids, putting these kids in the right direction, keeping these kids in the right direction, I think it is important that we first know what our kids is doing and then educate them on said weapons, the repercussions of having said weapons, the responsibility behind having said weapons, who should have these weapons. I just think that that is super important. I'm gonna walk for a second and then I'm gonna come back. Okay. All right. So again, I just feel like this is super important. And I know everybody is used to me, again, like I said, talking sports, bringing news, sports news. But again, this is a lot more important. And I need this, and I need you guys help. I need you guys to put this out. I need you to share this, put it out there. You never know who this could bring attention and awareness to. You never know whose life you could be saving by doing this. You never know who you could be helping by doing this. But again, sole purpose of this is to bring awareness. And I know people got comments. If you have comments, questions about what I'm asking, or I'm sorry, what I'm talking about, I can answer those questions. Yes, I understand that there's a lot of parents out there. Some will care, some won't. Totally understand that. Yeah, I won't talk about that right now, Ron. I'm not gonna talk about that part what you just put on there. I'm not gonna talk about that right now. Yes, goes back to the point, corporate America, yeah. Disingenuous. You have a lot of disingenuous corporations that lack integrity, that lack care. Yes, I definitely documented all this. I made sure I kept documentation. Yeah, and I know Luke. I know it's not. I know it's not entertainment. I know. Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, absolutely. And again, um, there's gonna be questions. I already been getting questions on whether these kids were a certain color. I think color doesn't matter in this situation whatsoever. But I will state that regardless, if you're looking at it from that angle, because a lot of people will look at it from that angle of color. If this was, uh, you know, a certain color or a certain culture, they would have called or they wouldn't have called. Again, not calling is the problem. Not calling is the problem. They're minors. First and foremost, anybody who know minors do not get prosecuted unless it is a severe extreme charge. Like, unfortunately, stealing weapons like this would be a misdemeanor to an adult. Minors don't, unless it's grand theft, which is felony. Okay. Um, Minors don't get charged. But what will happen and what would happen is if you called CPD or you called law enforcement, is that law enforcement would get the names of these kids and then make them call them parents, get them parents involved. And the parents gonna have to come down there and then pick up said kids, and it would raise awareness. And that's what I wanted. Because could you imagine today's Friday, tomorrow Saturday, and this was your kid and your kid, well, somebody's kid, and they go out here to go do something that they have no business doing, and they end up paying the ultimate price for it. That's my vote. And it's not impossible. As you've seen, there's multiple upon multiple cases in this community alone. So if it's happening, it's probably happening somewhere else. If anybody have any questions outside of this, again, you can hit me in my inbox or call me. I am not running. I'm not hiding. Y'all know where I'm at. You can call me at any point in time. Um, I'm here as long as I'm not super busy, which I have been lately. Um, but calling any comments, I'm willing to answer comments. Um, Yeah, absolutely. Again, Luke, we have to be conscious about what's going on, and if this is in this era, in this time, keeping receipts is super important. I know people think that that's cliche and sounds corny, as far as keeping receipts, but we have to do our due diligence in keeping and making folks responsible, and that's in anything. It doesn't matter if it's sports, not sports related. Um, we have to raise awareness and make people accountable and keep people accountable. In this company, Cabela's doesn't want to be accountable. They don't want to be accountable for the fact that they lack integrity as it pertains to kid safety. They don't want to be accountable for the fact that they didn't do their due diligence when they already had been told and advised to lock up said weapons. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do that. They told me it was a convenience thing. Oh, it would be inconvenient for customers. When you care about your image more than you care about safety, I kind of have a problem with that. And that's my problem here. So, again, I appreciate y'all. Yeah, absolutely. Negligent is the word. Negligence comes to mind. And again, I'm here to shine some light. Hopefully, it saves somebody's kid. Hopefully, it brings awareness. And if you rock with a company that don't care about kid safety, then that's on you. If you rock with a company that has zero integrity as it pertains to how they handle, manage said weapons, then that's not for me to judge. That's your own decision. But I appreciate your time. Once again, share this to somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. That's all I can tell you, and go from there. Okay. I appreciate y'all again, and I will see you soon.